Hello guys, welcome back to the Forza Mentality. Today we are here with Joseph Gattuso, my brother, who is an account executive at Conductor. And how are we doing today?
We are doing good.
Now, before your job at Conductor, what about you tell me about, life before working for Conductor? What was your journey like in college? What did you have to go through? Was there any hardship? How was your 4 years of college before this job?
It started off, graduating high school, I wanted to go into Suffolk County Community College. I did community college to start because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I had no idea if I wanted to go into marketing, science, sales. So I figured, let me get my core classes started at the college community price, and then once I know what I want to do, I can transfer those over to the next 4-year college that I want to go to. So I did Suffolk, got my course out of the way. Then from there, at the end, I've done enough classes where I figured out marketing is what I wanted to focus on. Applying to the next college, I wanted to stay local, so I looked at some schools that were away from home, but where I was close enough where I was a train right away. And for that fit that criteria, I looked at St. John's University. I had a few family members that went there. It was in the city. I always wanted to experience the city life. And I applied to St. John's University in Queens, in New York City.
Now, was it always St. John's, or was there ever like a different school you were looking at, or another possibility or opportunity you were looking for besides St. John's?
St. John's was actually my main choice. That was the one I really wanted.
So it ended up working out really well.
It worked out perfect, yeah. Again, close to home, but at the same time I was able to be independent and be away from home without being too far away.
That's always good. Well, now you're at St. John's. Well, not now, but now you're at St. John's in that sense, right? How was it? How was the years that you were there? Like dorming? Did you end up, getting an apartment with some friends? Like, what did you end up doing at St. John's, living-wise?
First semester, I was on campus. I wanted to these are all fresh new people, fresh new faces. It's kind of like a reset button. No one knows you. You're here to make your mark. So I got my friend group, got my social group, joined a few clubs, found out my way. And again, it was a beautiful campus, too, so I just wanted to really get to know the campus. After that first semester, the second semester, I decided, let me get some roommates and live off campus, try that out. Because they were strict with visiting hours, there were RAs, and it was a little strict, so I wanted a little bit more freedom. So I got our first house. It was a 2-bedroom, and we fit 4 people. 4 people in that 2-bedroom. It was like $550 a month. However, the location was literally 3 or 4 blocks away from the campus. And that was my first apartment. And then after that, I got my second year, I went to a different house, still close to campus, with a few roommates, and I lived close by.
Now, you finished with a very high GPA. It was quite impressive, and you're talking about staying in an apartment, you had to pay for it and everything. You had to have a monthly bill, as you would if you have an apartment. How were you able to pay those things off and then also, do as well as you did at school?
Well, it wasn't just the apartment. It was the apartment, phone bills, and I had to pay for my tuition. Now, don't get me wrong. My parents, they helped, but they can only help to such an extent. So I had to also pay for it as I went. So we did payment plans, and together, we worked together to make it work. So to make those payments, I had to get a job. So I served prior to going to college at the TGI Fridays in Riverhead. And I just took that experience and went to the Forest Hills TGI Fridays. Yeah. The big difference, though, is the TGI Fridays in the city where I was going to be serving at, their kitchen closes at 1 in the morning. So if you get a closing shift, you could be there well past 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I worked on the weekends, and I had a few weekday shifts when I didn't have class. So I would go to class, do my work, go to work, work until 1 in the morning.
Now, what did you do at TGI Fridays, by the way?
Well, I started off as a hosting. After hosting for a bit, I got promoted to a server, a waiter, and I served the food. I took the orders, ran it back, had to work in a hectic environment, back-to-back tables, double seating, different types of customers, having to deal with different types of personalities. But I gotta say, it wasn't easy, but it got me through college. It gave me just enough cash to pay my bills and keep up on those payments.
Would you say you were stressed out at all during these times, or do you feel that you felt pretty comfortable while doing all this with school, work, and making sure the apartment and everything, all the bills were taken care of?
I handled it well. I think I handled it very well, but I was stressed. It wasn't just school. It wasn't just paying for tuition, paying for college. It was also like I had to take out a credit card, and so TGI Fridays gave me a decent amount of money, but it was literally just enough to barely get by.
Yeah.
So I had to rely on my credit card to do the rest. And what happened was I wound up building up quite a bit of credit card debt, where I can only make the minimum payments. So I had to deal with credit card debt. I was paying off my student stuff, and trying to maintain my GPA, and going to work, and trying to maintain a social life. So it was a lot to handle at once. But the thing was, I had to do it right the first time. There was no second chances. I mean, don't get me again. Me and my parents, we worked together to make it happen. But if I messed up, it wasn't like I could just do St. John's again. I really would have had to start all over at another college. So it was either do it right the first time, or that was basically it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely seemed like you excelled under that pressure. You got through it, and again, you graduated with a very high GPA. And a reminder, what was your GPA by the end of college?
3.82. I was a cum laude. It was a decent GPA.
Yeah, and I would say, considering the circumstances, it's impressive.
Thank you.
I would say that's impressive, and I think you should be very proud of that and that fact. But now we've graduated. We've graduated college, and now what's the next step? We're looking for a job. Now, can you tell us about that process exactly of looking for that job, applying for jobs? Did you get rejected by a lot of places? Did you not even get responses by some of these places? What was that process like for you, straight out of college?
Yeah, getting a job right when you're out of college, it's something you want to do, obviously, because you now have this degree. You have the degree. I didn't need to serve anymore at that point. I have a degree, so now I can get the job I wanted to get. And I graduated with a business administration and marketing, so I knew I wanted to do something in the marketing realm. I also had a background in sales because I worked retail stores at American Eagle, Abercrombie and Fitch, Calvin Klein. It was just in-person sales. So I wanted to do something in sales, something in marketing. So I started looking up jobs within that area. I used Glassdoor, I used LinkedIn, whole bunch of stuff. And I started to narrow down the positions that I would be interested in. And I applied to, I want to say 20 positions. Out of those 20, I got called back. I went to 11 interviews. Out of 11 interviews, I got one call back, which was the yes, you got the job. So
now, did you get this job through Glassdoor, or did you get it through LinkedIn? You find this? Let me rephrase that. Did you find this job from Glassdoor or LinkedIn?
Well, I used Glassdoor and LinkedIn as tools to kind of look at the job descriptions to kind of see what these jobs would entail. Because, again, I had an idea on what I wanted to do, but I didn't know the exact positions. I was reading through all these different job descriptions to figure it out. And again, I applied to 20 plus positions. The 11 interviews I went to, they were all in person. This was before COVID. So I remember one interview, I got dressed up in a suit. I had to take a bus ride, a 20-minute bus ride to get to where I needed to be. I did a 5-minute interview, went 20 minutes back, and I didn't even get a call back.
Yeah.
So that wasn't great. The job I did wind up getting, I actually tapped into my network. I spoke to my professors. I had this one professor Professor Feinstein, and I did a big class project with him. And I guess I left a good impression, and I set up a meeting with him, and I said, hey, I know you've been in the marketing space for a long time. I don't know if you happen to know anyone within that space. Would you be able to connect me?
Yeah.
He happened to have a student that he used to teach at a prior college, and this student worked at the company I work at today, Conductor, and we sell SEO software to help companies get on the first page of Google. After I spoke with him, he reached out to his prior student, and his prior student set me up with an interview. He gave me the referral, and I did my first interview over the phone, and then I did three more internal interviews at the actual office space, because the first interview went well over the phone, so we did the on-site office interviews. And then about a week later, I got the phone call that you got the position, accepted, congratulations.
Nice.
And it was amazing. But it took 20 plus applications, 11 interviews, and 10 no's to get the job that I'm still at today, almost 4 years later.
Yeah. And now you got the job now, that was great. You've got the job, and you had to go through the 10 rejections so you got this job. Now you're doing the job. How was it in the beginning? How did it start off, and how did it go?
It was tough in the beginning because we skipped a detail that I don't want to go back too far, but while I was going to St. John's University, they had this program called the Combined Degree Program, where you're doing your bachelor's, but you can also take master's degree graduate classes as you were finishing up your bachelor's degree. It was a combined degree. So by the time I graduated at St. John's University, which my bachelor's, I was actually halfway done with a master's degree.
Yeah.
After you leave and you're done with your bachelor's, you have to figure out how to fund the rest of your master's degree. And
let's see. So did you have to go for like a fellowship?
Yes.
Or something like that?
Because the only way I could fund it was either one, I take out more loans, which I did not want to take out more loans. I already have taken out quite a bit to go to St. John's University. It's an expensive university.
Yeah.
Or you become like an RA or a graduate assistant, and the RA and the graduate assistantship programs were very oversaturated. Everyone was going for those.
Yeah.
So I actually walked into the dean's office, and by chance, one of the deans heard me talking about, I was trying to figure out how am I going to fund the rest of my master's.
Yeah.
And they pulled me into their office, and they told me about this fellowship that no one applies for. Like, no one even knows about it. And I applied to it, and I got it. So the reason why I bring this up, going back to your question of why was it tough in the beginning, was that when I got told that I got my job, I also, in that same week, got told that I got accepted into the fellowship program. And with this fellowship program means that it covers my entire rest of my master's for free.
Yeah.
All I have to do is finish half of a master's, because I'm already halfway there, and it's covered.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no to a free master's.
Yeah.
However, the job that I applied for at the time was a full-time position. So starting this job, going into the corporate space for the very first time, I had to learn a new job, working full-time, 40 hours a week, and I had to take night classes to finish up my master's, because I accepted both. I said yes to both. And it was an interesting moment in my life because I wasn't sure if I can do it. I built confidence over the years doing what I did, so far, working my full-time job, going to school, getting my good GPA. But there was a chance I could fail. Because when you get into the corporate world, it's not like you could just say, oh, sorry, boss, I can't hit my numbers this week because I have an essay due tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or you can't go to your professor and say, hey, I'm working 40 hours and I have numbers to hit by the end of the week. I'm sorry I couldn't get this essay done.
Yeah.
There was no excuses. So if I messed up or I dropped the ball, either at my job or school, that was it. Like, it wasn't like... So I really had to do both, and I had to do both really well to make it work. So I took a chance on myself, and it wound up paying off, and in a big way, and I'll get deeper into that as we continue the conversation, but I took a chance on myself, and it paid off. And taking a chance on myself was a big deal because I wasn't sure at the time when I accepted both I really didn't know if I was going to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Like, I could have failed.
And
so that was...
if you failed, I mean, the consequences of that would have, been heavy, because you could have risked either doing bad at your job and losing your job, or doing bad in school and not getting good grades with school, or even failing some classes. So the fact that you're able to do both and juggle both, and did you feel again that you juggled both fine? Did you how was anything at some point your work or your school affected during this time, or?
In the beginning it was a learning curve. Again, I was always at a high level of activities that I had to do, but
would you say you adjusted well? You adapted?
I eventually did. I did not. So when I first started the job, I joined with a group of 6 people. 6 people joined my class of people that joined the company. And in those group of 6 people, I was actually one of the last people to pick up the job. I wasn't that great in the beginning. And my job at the time was I had to make cold calls. I had to call people in the middle of their day and convince them to get set up to talk to one of my sales reps.
Yeah.
So cold calls, emails. I had to look people up on LinkedIn, make sure they were a good fit. I had to qualify them. And I had to learn all this. I was doing this for the first time. First time in the corporate workspace. First time making a cold call. First time emailing. And I wasn't amazing at it. I really did struggle in the beginning. And then by the time I picked it up, it took me... My first 6 months was just figuring out the job and how to time manage myself. After the first year, I felt like I had things under control. And then by my second year, I was just a well-oiled machine. And then the third year, I was 2.5 years in, I was at a point where I was able to handle it pretty well.
Yeah. And now, what were some, and this was the MDR position, right?
Yeah, MDR is a market development rep. So basically, I supply the leads to the sales team. And then the sales team takes those leads, if they're qualified, to then close the deal for the business.
Now, what would you say are probably one of your highlights or accomplishments in the MDR role?
Highlights or accomplishments? I would say when I was able to... Again, we had to do a lot of cold calling. And also, before I jump into that, when you first get a job, I know there are a lot of people out there that they get their job and they're this is the first day of the job, they get nervous. And I want you to know that it's okay to mess up, because to get good at my job to a point where I felt confident and I was doing stuff the right way, I had to do a lot of cold calls, a lot of emails before I finally figured it out. And a lot of those ended in people hanging up on me, people yelling at me, until I got to a point where I was able to do it well.
Did you ever get a email or a call where it's don't you ever call this number again, or they're just straight up curse you out?
Oh yeah, no, I've heard it all. But when I got to the point where I felt confident in my call, I called someone, and it was a cold call. And from that cold call, I talked to them for 30 minutes. And they, I was asking them questions, I was learning their business, and I basically did the job of a salesperson, but over a cold call.
Yeah.
And I felt really accomplished. It was my first time, where I did it end to end without a hitch. I was at the top of my game as far as my cold calling goes, and it felt really good to do it good the first time. And then eventually doing this after a while, a lot of the calls you set up, these deals close. So I started closing. Opportunities that I set up started to close. So I got commission on that. So at the end of my career, I had sourced $2 million in revenue for the organization.
Over $2 million you made for the company.
Yeah, $2 million I sourced from the cold calls I did, the outreach I did for the company by the end of my marketing at my MDR career. Yes.
So then, that's a huge accomplishment, by the way. That's incredible. It doesn't sound like it's something easy to do, I would say. But, so you've accomplished all this in an MDR role. Now, just recently, you get the account executive role. And how have you been liking that? How have you been enjoying that? Do you like it any more than the MDR role? Do you feel more comfortable in it? Do you feel more natural in it? How are you feeling about the account executive role at Conductor?
Oh yeah, I feel good about it. First, I think it's good to distinct. The account executive is basically the person, like the MDR starts the conversation. The account executive takes those leads and tries to close it for closed won business. So when I was an MDR, again, I said it was tough in the beginning. Then I figured it out. I applied for the account executive role. I believe 2 years into the position, I applied for the role that I'm doing today. And at the time, I wasn't good enough for the role. So my company, the people who was interviewing me at the time for the new role, they told me I wasn't ready yet. Yeah. And I was upset because I really wanted this. I thought I was ready. And they basically told me that I wasn't ready yet. And I had to keep doing the role that I was doing to get better. So I was upset, but I used the emotions and me being upset to fuel it back in. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to become the best MDR I can be. I'm going to get really good at this to where it becomes to a point where they can't tell me no. Like, I'm that good at it. So I doubled down on my MDR duties. I got really good at it. I became a team lead for my team. We were like a team of 20 about at the time. And I was teaching others how to do it, and I became really senior to a point where I was so good at it, I didn't have to think about it. It was to the point where I just did the job, and I always had a new opportunity set up every week. When I wanted to go for the new position, there actually wasn't an account executive position open. So I had to figure out how to do this because there was no account executive position open. So I spoke to my manager. I spoke to my manager's manager. I spoke to the account executive manager. And I talked to all of them and I let them know, this is what I want to do. I want to do an account executive role. I know there aren't any positions that are open, but what do I need to do to get there? What do I need to do to get into this role? And they told me their journey and how they got there. They told me more about the position. They told me what I would need to do to make it happen. And I told them, all right, I'm going to do all those things. I'm going to keep you updated. And I'm going to kind of forge my own path to make this happen. So because there was no position at the time, I had to forge my own path. I had to make a pathway to get to that position. Yeah. So I did all my interviews with all my internal colleagues. I learned what I needed to do, and I executed. I started doing it. And what I also started to do was I started to do sales executive stuff in my current role. I actually forced myself into the sales executive meetings to be a part of those meetings. I told whoever ran those meetings to include me on every single one of those meetings. Yeah. Being on those meetings, learning the new processes, staying in touch, letting them know what I wanted. Eventually, it came to a point where positions did open up. For the new year, they were going to hire 5 account executives. Yeah. And I let them know that I wanted one of those positions. And because I was doing all the right things and I was doing more than what the job required, because to get a promotion, you have to excel at your job, you have to do well at your job, overachieve it, show consistency, and then you have to show desire to learn and that you can handle the new job. So what I was doing was I was excelling at my current role, I was forcing myself into the account executive meetings, and I was doing account executive style calls to get ready for this moment. Yeah. And because I did all the prep work and I just made my own pathway, when came time for them to pick those positions, I got one of the picks. Yeah. I got the job. So getting the job, now we're back to your question, how is it going so far? It's going good. So far so good. I had a learning curve where I knew the product very well. So it's not like I had to relearn a new product. I knew the product very well.
You just at this point had to figure out from the MDR position of starting the conversation, you had to get used from starting the conversation to actually finishing it.
Yeah, because they are related in the sense where you have to work very closely with your MDR, my prior position. Because they're the ones setting up these opportunities. So they have to set up...
You have to know what they said and what they, promises they made in the sense, or...
Well, you have to have a good relationship with that MDR. And because I'm coming from that position, I know their perspective and I know what they're going through. Which is another reason why I was a great candidate for the job, because I knew what it was like from the other side. I had that perspective. So... working with the MDRs was no problem. I knew the product. The only difference was you have to learn how to do intro calls. You have to learn how to demo the product. When I say demo the product, we have a software that we sell. So on the computer, you share your screen and you kind of go through what the product is like. But you have to map the product to the client's challenges and what they're going through.
I see.
I'm getting good at that. And then the next part is you have to be able to close these deals. Like, you have to be able to negotiate, write up contracts. You have to keep them engaged throughout the entire sales cycle. Because our solution, it's not like an $100 a month solution. It's like tens of thousands of dollars per year for companies.
Yeah.
So when a company's going to invest tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars into a solution, it's a much longer sales cycle. I mean, I don't sell this over a single call. It usually takes multiple calls. I have to engage multiple people.
That'd be pretty impressive if you could convince someone to spend X amount of money over a call, like tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars over a call. That would be impressive. But
yeah, because you have to build a business case. You have to justify the ROI, the return on investment for such a big investment like this. There's a lot that goes into it. You have to be able to build relationships. You have to be able to connect with the other person on the other side. And not just understand what they care about from a business perspective, but also connect with them on a personal level as well. Because a lot of it's also trust and being able to read a person and empathize with what they're going through.
Yeah.
And also, even sometimes knowing when to step away from the sale. Because sometimes they're just not a good fit. And knowing where to focus your time is very important. That's what I'm learning now. That's actually the biggest challenge I'm having right now is time management. I'm so busy. I'm working like 40 opportunities at the moment, all at the same time. So I have to like talk to 40 different companies at the same time. You have to manage it all on the back end. You have to have the front-facing conversations, manage the stuff on the back end, create business cases. And when you get that many, you have to know where are the best opportunities to focus the most of your time. Because if you focus all your time on an opportunity that isn't the right fit for the company, you're just wasting time. So I'm learning as I go where to focus my time and what to focus on throughout the day and how to manage my time throughout the day. Because you only have so much time. So your time's valuable and you have to make sure you use it in the best way.
Yeah. Well, it seems, throughout your time, even as you're explaining now with your new sales position, you've definitely had a lot of struggling and definitely had a lot of rejection. The road definitely wasn't a full, smooth, clear road. And, there were times that were tough. There's times you might have gotten down to yourself. Now, during those times, what exactly got you out of your head? What in a sense, what was your forza?
There's a couple things that I guess were my forza. The first was family. I had too many people counting on me. Too many people that invested time into me for me to be successful, for me not to be successful. So knowing that I'm having my family do everything they can to get me through college, knowing that I have even you or people like looking to me like as role models and what to do, and there was a lot. There was good pressure to do it right and do it and to succeed. I couldn't afford to fail. Like I couldn't afford to fail. That was the first thing, and also the second thing is the relationships that I have and the things that I want to do. I mean, again, I couldn't afford to fail. So there are things I want to. There's places I want to go. There's experiences I want to have with the people I care about. There's things that I want to do, and being able to hold the job and keep it going and push through the tough times, knowing that there's these things that I want to accomplish, and this is a vehicle to get me to those accomplishments, is a big thing I think about. And the final thing is I built up a lot of confidence in myself over my years of doing this. I mean, to think that I got a 3.8 GPA while working my serving job. Then I had to work a full-time job for the first time and also complete my master's degree, all at the same time. And again, when I initially said yes to these things, I wasn't sure that I can do it. I wasn't 100% confident in myself that I was able to do it. There was a chance I could fail. So the fact that I did it and succeeded and overachieved, I'm thinking if I can do that, there's nothing I can't do.
Yeah.
So when there's times where it gets tough and I'm really stressed at work, I have to look back at my accomplishments and what I've done and remind myself that I can do this.
And how we got to where we are.
And
now.
how we got to where we are, and I've gone through worse, and I can do this.
Yep.
Because this job was a big deal for me at the time. When I got this job, because before this job, it was tough. I was literally made just enough money to barely cover my bills. I was deep in credit card debt, deep in student debt. When I got this job and I got my first paycheck, I was blown away because it was the first time in my life that I was able to not only pay, because before this job, I had to choose, am I going to pay my bills today? Or am I going to have a good time today? Am I going to have fun and go out with my girlfriend, or am I going to pay my bills?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I had to pay my bills. And if I went out, it was a sacrifice. And I always had to recover it. This was the first time in my life where I could not only pay my bills, not only could I go out, but I could also put money away and save. I was making enough money where I was able to pay off my debt. I paid off my credit card debt. Over time, I paid off my student debt. I'm debt-free, credit card, and no student loans. I go out with my girlfriend. I do things I enjoy doing. And it's not a sacrifice. And I'm saving money for my future.
Yeah.
So having that, knowing what this job has given me with that freedom, with now being financially stable, that's also a big motivator too. Like I enjoy doing these things. I want to keep doing these things.
Exactly.
And because I still get stressed every day, and I've been doing this job. I'm still learning. I'm still growing every day. But those are the things that kind of keep me moving forward.
All right. Lastly, what is your advice to give to people out there that are graduating college and they're trying to look for a job? What would you say is your biggest piece of advice to them?
I have a few things. First, leverage your network. Again, I applied to 20 different applications, and I got one acceptance. And that one acceptance was the referral from my professor who reached out to a student and helped me out. And building those relationships through college, because in college you build relationships with your students, with your professors, with your coaches. So leverage your relationships. Talk to those people, even if it's not even to ask for a job or just to get their advice, get their perspective. They've been through what you're going through, so talk to them. So leverage your network. Second thing, don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid of rejection. Again, I think things happen for a reason. I mean, I got told no 19 times before I got the one yes. And that one yes is all that mattered. And I love my job. I love my coworkers. I mean, if any one of those other companies said yes, I might have been in a job that I hated. If they said yes to me, I might have been in a job that I hated. And I'm so grateful that they told me no because of where I landed today. I feel very lucky that I got to land at a job that I really, really enjoy. Even from a sales perspective, the amount of rejection that I've faced, if this job has taught me anything so far, the amount of rejection I've faced is crazy. I get told no every day when I cold call people. And again, all the yeses I got were amazing because I was able to generate $2 million for the company. So you're gonna fail, you're gonna get told no, but if you keep at it, you believe in yourself, and you have a goal that you want to reach, eventually you will get yes. And when you do get that yes, it will feel amazing. And it makes that yes just that more amazing. What else? The final thing I could say, what have I said so far? Leverage your networks.
Leverage your networks.
Don't be
against rejection.
Don't be against rejection. And don't be afraid to fail. Again, I was not great at my job when I first started. I failed a lot. I got back up and I kept going. And repetition, doing the job day in and day out, I eventually got good at it. But I had to fail multiple times before I got to where I am today. I've had tough conversations with my manager where they said, if you don't turn it up, we have to put you on an improvement plan. If you don't get better, like I've been in that position where I was close to not doing so well. And if I didn't keep at it and I just gave up, I would have never become the sales rep. that I am today. I got told no. I applied for the job I am today a year ago, and I got told no. And if I let that stop me, again, I wouldn't have the job I have today. So if you have the drive, just keep at it. Don't give up.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you, Joseph, for being with us today. Vincent Gattuso here, alongside with, again, Joseph Gattuso. And always remember to keep that Forza mentality.